Hello and welcome to a special vintage episode of Hot Springs Village Venues. You see, Mr. John Cooksey and I had been recording for a year, maybe two, when a pandemic occurred. We knew that it was happening. We knew that there would be shutdowns. This is a 5-year, I repeat, 5-year glimpse backwards as to what two foolish guys thought would happen from the pandemic. Now, the last time we'd had a pandemic was about 100 years ago, but John and I thought, hey, we're gonna tell the future and tell you what we think's gonna happen and how it's gonna be sustained. For anything else, it could be comedy, it could be humor, it could be folly. It could also be a very interesting perception of what a couple of guys who pretty knowledgeable and pretty well read thought was going to happen in the 5 years ahead. Who knew, man, if we had a time machine. Hope you enjoy this. By the way, the photo you're looking at right now is Diana and I at the last night we went to Applebee's when it was open for, I guess it was 9 months or so. Yeah, I remember that too. Hope you enjoy. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Village Venues, and I want to talk with my good friend, Mr. John Cooksey.
Hello,
John,
Mr. Dennis. How are you doing?
Good to seeing you. I tell you, it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Don't you,
things
John?
are going good, and they're going terrible at the same time.
It was the best of times.
And the worst of times, yeah. You know, I feel for the small businesses and the big businesses that hire employees, and they are not sure what to do. I wouldn't know what to do right now. It's unprecedented. It's never happened before. In a couple months, I do believe it'll all come back, but there'll be some damage in the short run that'll carry over for a while.
Well,
the tax revenues, whatever.
Well, I think, what was it? The city of Hot Springs said they lost $1 million in sales tax revenue this month.
Well, the sales, I don't know if it's sales or advertising promotion tax, but they take in $13 million a year, so divide that by a month. And there's $1 million right there, just in the 3%.
Well, they were talking about how big the season is at Oakland, which is effective, and the casinos,
right?
And bless Oakland's heart. I mean, doesn't matter where you come down on the casino and racing. Goodness, I mean, who needs to have that kind of investment turned off for 2 weeks? Yeah,
and the waiters and waitresses at restaurants. I mean, there's a lot going on where these people just have nothing. I have a vacation rental, few cancellations. You've had cancellations. Everybody I know that has a vacation rental has cancellations.
Well, and for me, John, it was one of the deals I kept thinking, okay, everybody has a different pain point, okay? For example, for Donna, we had a few minutes ago when we had her. She's a bank president. Obviously, when people have to make payroll, that's a pain point.
Yeah.
And she has to either help somebody or not
I don't know how people would navigate that.
Well, I was going to say for me and you, and for at least for one of mine, my pain point is restaurants. Well, as soon as the restaurants close, my guests that don't want to cook in my Airbnbs say goodbye.
Yeah,
they kind of step back a little.
Restaurants are important. A lot of them are doing curbside. We did a little video this morning live at some of the curbside restaurants. Brick House Grill, which I didn't get, and 1217, I didn't get. They're both doing that though. Squeeze Box down here is doing it. The Vault is doing it. And Will Cinnamon Shop, that's just in historic downtown.
What do you think? And the irony is you've seen in Northeast Arkansas, Northwest, and they're trying to do it, I guess, in some of the central areas now, is that, in Northwest Arkansas, they actually have rules that they have half of the density that they have seats for. For example, if they've got 100 seats, they let 50 people in. I don't know how long I could make a profit on half of the people I
Well, and the other problem is we don't know if severe isolation early on will have an effect, or if we're going to get overwhelmed in the healthcare system. The unknowns for Arkansas are just to be seen. So suppose you say, forget about it, and everybody has a good time, and it's 100 people in the restaurant, and then we get overwhelmed. System. Yeah. Right. The biggest problem with the corona modifies RNA, not DNA. It takes a couple weeks to get into your system.
Right.
So you could be out there and fine and be transmitting it to people. 30-40% of the people don't show any symptoms at all.
And you don't even feel bad.
No.
Yeah. So a deadly threat unlike we've seen before. Do you believe, and this is just a speculation question, do you believe this is one of those deals that everybody's going to get, or you think it's going to be gone in 60 to 90 days?
I think a little bit of both. I think it'll be taper off in 60 to 90 days.
Right.
I think
as it always does every spring.
Yeah, when the healthcare system can then handle it at a certain level where when people come in, they can get treated if they're severe, there's enough ventilators, then I think life is just going to have to go on and going, yes, we're going to have some people die and they're going to be popping in, but it's going to be less than, when it's less than 1/4% or something,
right.
They'd actually
Did
get
you see
it.
the new numbers today about how many people are infected in the United States? Not the world, but just the United States.
It's a good amount.
Good amount. It's in the tens of thousands.
Right.
Right. And then the vast majority are in the coastal areas. But I noticed also, which was their urban density centers. That's what they have to struggle with. But I also noticed that the recovered, there had been, I think there was 150 deaths, and there have only been like 750 that have been declared as recovered. And my only thought there is that we don't know, we're not far enough along in the 2 weeks to know how many people are going to recover from it.
That's true. That's true.
I assume we'd follow the international trends.
Right. I don't think, they're Plaquenil and a few other drugs they're working on and saying they actually may be good for this in terms of treating it. And I think when we find one of those magic bullets that gives you a little bit of an edge, and there's a bigger name for Plaquenil, I can't remember.
Yeah, I remember.
With a Q,
58 letters long.
Yeah, and I think if we come out with that, then that'll be a big step in boosting our economy, and the self-confidence factor is what remains.
You touch on that, John. We haven't even talked about that. That's a real deal, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of what we think in our mind is what we act on, right?
Yeah. One thing, my son, 20-year-old son, works out in the gym. His 20-year-old friend.
He doesn't this week.
Well, he doesn't this week. Well, and the friend's brother, all a month ago, had some unique thing that was 103-degree fever, chills, chest involvement. And on Facebook, I didn't think much of it, but I see some other people that said they had a similar thing, and they even tested for the flu, and it wasn't the flu. So you tell me, what was that?
Well,
he hasn't gotten 103-degree fever since he's 6, but I know anecdotal things don't necessarily count for it. But my question is, could it have been also floating around here?
It certainly could have. And we talked about earlier, I heard a mention on public radio, they were saying coronavirus is why you get the common cold. Well, coronavirus 19 is the one that sticks in your respiratory tract and causes pneumonia.
Exactly. And that's, I have been on a respirator for 6 days in my life with this thing called Wegener's back in the day. Had nothing to do with something you catch. It's just...
And the misery index there was...
Well, it's not pleasant. I think I remember them feeding it down my throat after they've put some drug in you to relax you.
A lot of that drug.
And it wasn't as hard. When you're having trouble breathing...
You'll do about anything?
Yeah. So every time I would breathe, it would hurt because my lungs were filling up with, white blood cells and popped red blood cells. That was just bad. And I remember thinking in the morning, I'll just hold my breath and stop breathing so I won't be in pain. And I would be like, ooh, I have no pain. This is, that's not good. You know what I mean?
That'll last for 40
so
seconds.
I thought that's when I knew I was in real trouble. They got me in for a lung biopsy that morning, but I was probably 24 hours away from bad deal.
How old were you at that time?
I was 29 at the time.
Wow. Yeah. And you were the height of health at that. And your immune system and everything was bad.
Right. And I will say that a respirator is bearable. It's not as bad. So when I woke up with the rest, they put it in you when you're in twilight sleep to make sure everything, but it was after the operation. And then I sort of went back to sleep. And when I woke up, they tie your hands to the side so you don't pull out the respirator.
Yeah, because that seems to be a tendency.
A little disconcerting because I was like, I wanted to tell them, no, I'm not going to, but you can't talk, So that was not, well, I'm going to tell you a side story here. And Houston, if you could turn down the audio on that, the delay's bothering me. Yeah, you can cut that out. Side story, I don't know if you want to use this or not. So I'm there with the respirator, and the only lifeline you have in critical care, intensive care, is that push button,
that red button,
and just something gets caught. You just can't. You would freak out. So as long as everything's working fine, you're fine. And of course, they have your vitals and a camera on you, but you don't know. So you got that button. Okay,
that's your security.
Yeah, button. And that button, they respond more to you real fast than a regular room because you got the intubated. Well, that button dropped down.
Oh my Lord!
And they had given me these cards. thing. If you want to be sit up, or if you want something, they were these big colorful cards that look like a second grader would have of these pictures, flashcards for help, bathroom,
water.
right. So I thought, well, I'll take them one at a time and chuck them at the door. I had about 6 or 7, and I went through, boom, nobody. Boom, missed the door. Then I get to the 6th or 7th, I got one more. Boom, nailed the door, made a big enough noise. The nurse comes in, I'm thinking, thank goodness I could. She comes in and says, well, if you're going to be throwing your cards all over, you're just not going to get any. And, it's one of those things that you had to laugh. So,
Well, you couldn't
later
laugh.
On, I know, later on, but it's a good laugh. But here you are, with the communication. And I think that's the hardest part of the respirator. 2 things. I'm a side and back sleeper. Stomach sleeper, so you couldn't roll over at all.
So
for me,
generally miserable.
Second thing, I was
6 days, 9 days.
6 days. I was on high doses of prednisone. People take 20, 30. I was on 150 or something, right, a day, and that makes you hungry,
twitchy, and hungry,
and it makes you hungry, right? You have a respirator. You can't eat anything, so you are like your body's going. I just want food
and they have to give you IV.
IV, but doesn't do it for your stomach.
You're still hungry.
Yeah,
your stomach's still growling.
So it was like 6. I just remember, and they have chest tubes that they put on the side of me, and that was more for the operation, not the respirators.
Sure,
but they said it's okay if you swear when they take out the chest tubes. I said, no, I'm not going to swear. I'll be fine. Boom, ripped it out, and the 4 letters come out because it's like having the hair ripped out. Those guys that have, and it was one of those things where they pull these tubes out, and I don't know why, but it's so intensely painful for sure.
When they say, this is going to hurt.
Yeah,
usually this could hurt, or you may feel some discomfort.
Sure.
When they say this is going to hurt, they know this is going to hurt.
I know how they would tell you things that this is going to hurt without them doing it. They would sort of take your hand and touch you or whatever. Hold on for this moment. I said, when I know you're doing that, this isn't going to be comfortable.
Don't touch my hand.
And I got to say one thing. The hardest part about being on a respirator, if you have a caregiver or somebody who could say this. So what they do is they have to suction out all the buildup in your lungs.
Which is
so they stick another tube down there. Now, if I will say morphine, I don't know if it's Dilaudid morphine, they give it to you about 15 minutes beforehand. As soon as that kicks in, they're sticking. You don't care. You're like, whatever. Right. They're vacuuming up. You're like. One time they came in there, like at the 10 or 11 or 12 minute mark, the medicine had not hit yet. Oh, wow. And you can't say, no, stop, come back. Another 4 or 5 minutes, that medicine is not hit back. It was one of the most uncomfortable things.
You couldn't swear.
Well, it was a matter of, like gagging or drowning or what. That's what it would feel like, and it, just the gag reflex. It was not pleasant at all. And all because another 5 or 6 minutes, that medicine would have kicked in.
And you still couldn't communicate.
And you couldn't communicate. Yeah, so I would say, please, if that goes in, make sure.
Come in 20 minutes.
Yeah, come in 20 minutes. Yeah, exactly.
I got to put 5-minute cushion.
That was not pleasant. But being on a respirator when it breathes for you, if you're having trouble, and then this goes down and is breathing for you, is actually
it's a relaxant.
It's a yeah. It's not as bad. You're just sitting back. You can't eat. You can't talk.
Well, it's like I talked to a friend one time that had surgery, and he had to sit up for weeks at a time to recover. He couldn't lay down fully.
Oh, yeah.
And did it hurt? Was it excruciating? No, it was a misery index.
Right.
You just couldn't get comfortable.
Right.
So and we digress a little, and I'm fine with that. I want to come back to we've gone through. Frankly, the worst case scenario. I mean, what would it be if you were on a respirator? What would that be like?
Right.
And to what's the horizon beyond that for all of us? And where I'm going is don't you feel that in 60, 75 days, we're going to be looking back and going, wow, we got some catching up to do.
Yeah. So you're talking about catching up economically. There will be a pent-up demand.
Economically, fun-wise, movies, I mean,
going on a cruise, going to Disney World, vacations, coming to Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Exactly.
And here's the problem. Once a weekend is gone, I don't think the races can go, we'll run in August, I don't think because of the school systems, a lot of stuff. We can't postpone spring break, and we lost a good spring break time. I hope we don't lose the summer.
I agree. And let me be frank. In my personal opinion, initially, I thought this was a little overreactionary. Mm-hmm. We closed down all the schools. We closed down everything, blah, 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 blah. But we were scheduled at the end of April to go to Spain. Mm-hmm. I look at Spain and I look at Italy and I think maybe we're not being overreactionary right now.
Oh,
Because
Italy and Spain, they got
behind
hammered.
the curve as opposed to in
Right.
front of the curve, and it's really costing them.
Well, and also, I mean, I don't know country by country, but I wonder how many different variations of intensity this is. First we hear it's mainly older people. Now they're saying, no, it's younger people. Did another version
Was there a
spin
mutant?
off? Or Italy. Why is Italy so much stronger? Do we have a weaker version? Is the sun, when it comes out and the ultraviolet rays going to dissipate it faster?
Exactly.
Is it going to come back in the fall? And will it come back with a vengeance?
I'm going to tell you exactly what my theory is, and you can look it up on John Hopkins. You can do the whole numbers or whatever. But I guarantee you, part of the factor is that they had there's an online poll going around or online presence going around talking about how our numbers are mirroring the infection numbers in Italy. Okay, and how that should be alarming. No.
'Cause we're
there are
bigger.
6 times more people that live in America than live in all of Italy. And Italy, it would be like putting every person in the United States in a little state a little smaller than New Mexico.
That's true.
The density, I can't say it enough, the density. I mentioned on one of the earlier shows, John, we actually had people that came and stayed with us this weekend while all this is being shut down. When it came time to go back, they were like, can we stay? And I'm like, well, I've got some extra room for, some people just canceled. They were like, that's it, just let us stay. Y'all have food in the grocery store?
Wow.
You got
Yeah, we
toilet
don't
paper?
think about that here, that we are spread out. Now, Italy is very huggy kissy to begin with. But if you look at Wuhan, China, I was shocked how they really did contain in that big city.
They really did. Now, but let's go back to, I consider Wuhan a fair cross sampling.
Yeah.
Okay. Japan and Italy, and even to some degree in Spain, are not, because the birth rates in Japan, Italy, and Spain have been very stagnant for the last few years. So their percent of people over 60 is a lot higher than it is anywhere else.
Well, and also, look, if you go in and somebody's sick with something else, and you test and they also have coronavirus, and they're 84 years old, COPD, and have an oxygen cannula in them, and they die, that's a coronavirus death. But,
it is, isn't it?
Well, you see what I'm getting at?
There were contributing factors.
Well, who knows? In the next 5 days, would they have passed on? And I'm not trying to be mean about it, but we really have to not attribute everything to coronavirus. When I had the Wegner's thing with everything that went on, if they had taken me for coronavirus and I had it, they would have thought that's what it was, because the way it manifested in the lungs seriously was just like that. So we have to be careful to not, have the person who's 98 years old and is, also has coronavirus. It may be other extenuating circumstances.
A statistic is not just a statistic, if you know what I'm saying.
Right. Well, the other thing is, somebody brought up a good thing yesterday. Maybe it's more important that seniors over 70 or 75 quarantine themselves, because we are getting people that, are not quarantined. You and I talking here is not quarantined,
Well, we're not quarantined when we're a few feet apart.
Right.
Every 3.5 and everybody's doing 6, and I understand. I think I'm more concerned about the doorknob I grab on the way in than I am how close or far we are or whatever.
And look, if we could have an ultraviolet light to see where all the coronavirus is and who sneezed on it, it's just like everybody was worried about. We're worried about foreign attacks or different political parties ruining the whole country. And what happens? We have an alien from outer space, in essence, a coronavirus, and we're all coming together, but it's the thing that we never feared. Though Bill Gates in 2015 said, this is my biggest fear. The thing that we never fear that gets you. So the point I'm making is, we'll all be worried, I didn't touch my face, I'm fine. And you walk by somebody and you don't know that he sneezed or something. But I do agree that limiting the crowds,
probably is the right thing to do, as much as even in a very non-dense area like we have, where we have low urban densities.
Right.
And the story I wanted to tell real quick was that I had a friend that was looking for bed bugs, and he said that he had ordered.
Oh wait,
one
start
of the,
again. Somebody's going to get you after the corona thing for touching your face.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, start again. Yeah.
I have a friend that was looking for bed bugs, and he was like, well, I think I can order one of these little black light flashlights, and he said, so I got the black light flashlight and I was looking for the bed bugs and everything. And he said, I came to the realization that if you love something, don't shine a black light on it.
Yeah.
Because everything has something on it.
Well, and we have so many germs and everything going around. So we're just going to take it one day at a time. And I feel for the people that are financially really strapped, that are paycheck to paycheck, waitresses or waiters and Oak Lawn employees and restaurant. And we're just going to have to hang in there. We'll come out of it. There will be some pent up demand, but it's going to be a tough go for people.
Yeah, and certainly unexpected. Who saw this 2 weeks ago, really,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, John, thanks again for joining us here on Hot Springs Village Venues. It's again been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks, John. That was
good.
Hot Springs Village Venues is brought to you by KVRE at 92.9 and streaming worldwide on iHeartRadio. KVRE is your family-owned local hometown radio station, so be sure and tune in for live local programming, news, sports, and information every day at 92.9. Beehive Hangout. Hot Springs Village Beehive Hangout has been an institution since the day it opened, serving great fresh food, wonderful music, games, trivia, and a cold glass of something to drink anytime. Come by and experience the relaxed atmosphere and great food at the Beehive Hangout today at 220 Minorca in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, or call 501-777-8176. You can also set up reservations at beehivehsv.com to reserve your table. HSV Radio. HSV Radio is heard every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. or streaming on any of the major platforms. Hot Springs Village Radio is an eclectic mix of music, motivation, great music history, and Saturday morning fun. Join us every Saturday morning at 9 a.m., 92.9. And brought to you by the Hot Springs Village Voice, Hot Springs Village only newspaper, also serving all of Saline and Garland County. Your local newspaper for local events. No one else has more local news than the Hot Springs Village Voice about the Hot Springs Village area. Sign up today at hsvvoice.com or call 501-623-6397. Again, that's 501-623-6397. Located at 3576 North Highway 7 in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, just in front of Walmart. Brought to you by Gotta Go Vacations. www.gottagovacations.com. Troy Woods and Patrick Cunningham at 501-204-4805 can help you with any of your travel needs. Patrick and Troy have been airline stewards for decades, and their experience and their travel can serve you well. GottaGoVacations.com, again, that's GottaGoVacations.com, can help you book the perfect tour for you, whether it's a riverboat cruise up the Mississippi or the Rhine. These guys are who you need to call. 501-204-4805. Troy or Patrick, 501-204-4805. GottaGoVacations.com. D&D Village Properties. Hot Springs Village only short-term rental with over 2,100 five-star reviews. All properties are lakefront. They include complimentary kayaks, hot tub, pet-friendly, and a stunning view of the lake. Visit DD Village Prop today for your vacation getaway.